America is fascinated with mob movies. The big screen brings us close to the action without putting our lives in jeopardy. One family didn't have to see it on screen. They saw it in person. Not part of the mob, but just close enough. Brothers Michael and Jeffrey Gentile met Chicago's most infamous mobsters and America's biggest celebrities to bring us these stories from their family memoir, Mob Adjacent.
Tony Accardo lived over on Grand Avenue, Jackie Cerrone lived over on Elizabeth, Sam Giancana lived down on Aberdeen and Dearborn. So really, that next generation of post-Capone mobsters really came from these streets. My dad, he had a produce business originally on the street. He was a street peddler, and he would deliver envelopes to different mob bosses. They were, most likely betting slips. But he never took money for it because he figured if he took money, it made him an employee. But if he did a favor, he made a friend. And in the long term, a friend tomorrow is better than a few bucks today. He was our father, for a man who wasn't formally educated deeply. Very insightful.
Okay, so this is the O'Hare Inn and Suites on North Manheim Road. This is the place where your dad had a club. When?
From 1962 to 1965. It doesn't look like much right now with all this industry, but back in the 60s, this was the Las Vegas Strip. It was dotted with high-end motels and hotels featuring some of the biggest names in entertainment. And our father had a nightclub and bar right here in this place called Orlando's Hideaway. We'd have people like Eddie Fisher performed here, Louis Prima and Keely Smith performed here. All of the big names, all up and down the street, because the Chicago outfit expected within 2 years to have open casino-style gambling like Las Vegas here. So they wanted to have all the infrastructure in place. One day we were playing around and we went downstairs, and we were used to seeing a man we knew as Mr. Sam. We learned decades later it was Sam Giancana. He was often here with Joe Iupa and some of the other outfit guys. This particular day, we go downstairs and we were visiting with our father. We're going back up. Frank Sinatra is walking down the stairs. Now, to me, it was inconceivable. He was on TV. And a few minutes later, this furious argument erupted. Now, we didn't know what the context of it was. All we heard was the intensity of the voices, the profanity, and our father just hustled us out in a minute. And years later, I said, Dad, what was all that about? And he said, blankety, blankety, blank, Joe Kennedy.
I will faithfully execute the office of President of the United States.
It had become a problem for the outfit, who felt betrayed by the Kennedy family after they had helped JFK become president in 1960.
People know Giancana, they know Accardo, but who is Richard Cain?
Richard Cain is one of the lesser-known figures in outfit history. He got his start in the early 50s, a dirty cop on day one. When he went to work for the Chicago PD, his job was to pass out bribes to other dirty cops from Sam Giancana.
He was putting pressure on the clubs up and down this strip.
Yes, he was. He was running a special investigations unit, and they were targeting Vice. And they were specifically targeting the hotel and nightclub owners, figuring if they could break the hotel and nightclub operators who were heavily unionized at the time, they could break the unions. If they could break the unions, they could cut off the mob's money fund and smash it.
And I would imagine this would have impacted your dad because he had a very unusual show going on here.
He did. In 1965, he booked a cutting-edge act. It was a drag act, and it was the Crisscross Review. And at the time, it was illegal in the state of Illinois for a man to appear in female attire in public.
And that's the angle that Cain wanted to use to get to my dad to cave in and let them know who he thought was behind the place.
And Richard Cain's end game at that point was to take over the outfit himself. He wanted to borrow a plot from Mario Puzo. He wanted to take out Sam Giancana, Tony Accardo, and all the top outfit leaders in one coordinated hit on New Year's Eve. And he came here to this neighborhood, to a sandwich shop, and presented his idea to Marshall Kayfana, who at the time was one of the big shots in the outfit. And rather than take over the outfit, he ended up dead in that same sandwich shop where he came to hatch his scheme.
Our house was an open house for these mid-level guys who my dad made friends with.
Up and down the org chart. Guys who worked for everybody.
Would come to the house. And my mom would make 3 pounds of macaroni, so there was always a leftover in the fridge. So if somebody came over, she had pasta for them. There was always 2-3 pounds of lunch meat in the house in case somebody wanted a gobble-gobble sandwich. That's not even a joke.
We took a deep dive into each other's lives in many respects, and he would share things that I didn't know that he did, and I told him things about me that we never, in the course of normal brotherly conversation, never would have come up. And it really did give us an opportunity to walk in each other's shoes a little
Aside
bit.
from the mob narrative.
Yeah.
Totally aside from the mob narrative. I mean, the mob narrative always had the overview. I mean, it was all about that life that we were, again, we like The Sopranos meets The Wonder Years. We like the thought of that, you know, because it's just 2 kids taking an overview of something that is far beyond them. And that's basically what we did. And here we are talking to you, which is
great.
almost amazing. It is. Hey, I'll tell you what, we think so, Larry.